Hello. How you guys doing today? Hi guys, how you doing today? All right. I have been wanting to do live videos all summer, but just like coming and going, it hasn't really worked. So today I decided I'm getting ready for a dinner party and I've got a little bit of time because I'm preparing. So I was like, why don't I just prepare this with everybody's help? So here's what we're going to do today. We are going to make a couple things for a dinner party. We're going to talk a little bit about entertaining. I'm going to start by making a fruit buckle cake. And I've made this cake before. I've made it on the Jason Show and the recipes on stephaniesdish.com. But I'm going to put plums in it. And the cake is going to like come up and around the plums. So it should be real pretty. So that's the first thing we're going to start with. And then we're going to make a garlic scape and basil pesto that I am going to use to drizzle over some roasted potatoes that are going to be on a bed of like feta and yogurt. I'm going to kind of make a bed, a schmear, a sauce, as it were. And so when people pick up that tomato or that potato, they're going to kind of drag that roasted potato through the base. Stephanie and I were talking about this on the radio show, and she did this for a party, and it turned out really good. So I'm going to do that. Then we are going to make a basic salad vinaigrette because I'm having a salad, and I'll just tell you about the menu and all the things I'm doing. So let me start by showing you my very cute color scheme. I have these plates and I bought them for Easter entertaining because I usually do a lot of entertaining at Easter, but they're also so great for like spring. They came in a set. So I have a light pink, a rose, and then an orange. And the funny thing is they weirdly look really good together and kind of springy. So that's my table theme that I'm going to do today. I like to entertain and I like to do it in a set way. I like to sit at a table. I like to have a big like meal sitting at the table. Now, that isn't to say that if you want to have like dips and sips, brunch, like there's a million ways to entertain. And what I want you to walk away from this live video is that entertaining can be as easy as you make it. I mean, you can literally put out a roast chicken and then make a homemade salad. And most people are just so happy that they got to come to your house, that they got to do anything. So don't let you not being a great cook or time be the reason you don't get together with your friends. Here's another thing I do. I like to invite my friends and I do it like 6 weeks in advance. And then I think about it like on the day, because if I thought about like having a party and like planning it, I would get very anxious about it. But I don't get to see my friends as much as I want to. And by forcing myself to have a gathering, it makes me see my friends. So that's fun. So let us start my menu. I'll just tell you what the menu is. It is going to be and I'm going to be running around getting things while I talk to you. I'm going to show you the miso salmon that I'm going to be serving. This is my main course. I've got salmon fillets that I put a miso salmon glaze on them. I will take them out about 30 minutes before my guests come so they come up to room temperature. And then I will broil them actually until they're 145. I've got a little bit of extra salmon glaze to kind of brush on at the end. And I'm going to serve them on a big platter. So that is the main course. Then I'm going to have the potato dish I was telling you about with the roasted potatoes. I was on Jason's show today on Fox 9, and I made the dilly potato salad. That is a new potato salad recipe for me this summer. I have about 5 on my website, and I'm going to serve that because I have it. I also made the signature summer cocktail for Minnesota people. It's called the Bootlegger. It is a can of limeade, a can of lemonade, a bunch of mint, about a cup, and then a half a cup of simple syrup. And you use the cans of the aid and you just blend that up. And then you have this like heavy concentrate and you mix 4 ounces of the concentrate with 2 ounces of either gin, or you could use dill aquavit, you could use vodka, you could use tequila, you can even use whiskey if you wanted to. And then you finish it out with the bubbly soda water and garnish it with a lemon and a mint. If I'm having a party, I love to have a signature cocktail. So this will be our signature cocktail for the evening. I also always tell people to bring wine. I figure people bring wine that they want to drink, and then I don't have to worry about like who's going to drink what and what goes with what. I like white, I like red, I like pink, I like bubblies. So I just tell people to bring wine, and then that's one less thing I have to worry about getting. But I do always start the night off with the signature cocktail. And I also like to make it a mocktail. So if someone's not drinking, I can go ahead and convert this same thing into an easy mocktail just by not adding the liquor. It also doesn't call out the person that's not drinking. It looks like we're all having the same thing, so that doesn't become weird or awkward. It's just sort of those little hospitality things sometimes that make your guests feel really welcome. So I'm going to put this back in the fridge. All right. Another thing I'm doing, in addition to the fruit buckle, which I'm going to start the stove at 350. Another thing I'm doing is I've got the potato dish. I've got the potato salad, which is a little random. I've got a really beautiful salad that I'm going to make. And what I did is I just tore up some peppers, took the seeds out, and roasted them with some olive oil. And I'm going to cut them into little more bite-sized chunks, but I'm going to leave them big because I love the way it looks on a platter. I don't want them to be even bite-size or an inch size. I'm going to leave them kind of random like this, but a little bit smaller. And I'm going to put them with 2 cans of vanilla beans and some basil, and I'm going to make a vinaigrette for that. So if you can imagine, we've got the salmon. We're going to have this beany, roasted, peppery vinaigrette salad. We're going to have a green salad that's going to have just a simple vinaigrette. I always think you need to have some greens. We're going to have the fruit buckle for dessert. And then when I was leaving the gym last night, someone was giving away squash and zucchini. If you're a gardener, this will be happening to you in Minnesota soon, where you just have so much squash and zucchini, you don't know what to do with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slice it, and I'm going to make a little olive oil, a little Parmesan cheese, a little breadcrumbs or crackers, probably crackers because I probably don't have breadcrumbs. And I'm going to make like a little gratin out of it. And I'm going to layer it in this little dish here, just in concentric circles, and sprinkle that gratin on there and bake that. So it's just one more kind of fully veggie dish. I do have ideas about putting cheese in the roasted peppers, but I'm not going to, because if I make the vegetable dish with parm, that's got cheese. If I make the roasted potato dish with the feta zhuzh on the bottom, that's got cheese. So I want to have something that doesn't have cheese in case there's somebody that's dairy free. And that will be the dish that will do it, is the roasted red pepper. And then also, like with the salmon, maybe someone doesn't love salmon. I've got a lot of like these salads that someone can fill up. So when you think about dietary restrictions, I really don't sweat it that much. I just kind of make a lot of different dishes that people can mix and match. And I figure everyone will find something that they can eat. And I just don't worry about it. So, for instance, if I have someone coming that's gluten free, I might make a couple things that are specifically gluten free, but I don't like stress about the whole menu being gluten free. Does that make sense? And I think honestly, like when people have dietary restrictions, they're kind of easier too because they know they're not going to be able to eat everything sometimes. I say this because my husband cannot eat anything. Like he cannot have vanilla. He cannot have balsamic vinegar. He cannot have anything with fermented fruit. So no champagne vinegar, no red wine vinegar, no mustard, no apple cider vinegar, which you probably don't know this, but it's in a lot of packaged foods. And we're just like, even Cholula has stuff in it that he can't have. Hot sauces, like the list is getting so long. So I'm just getting really good at like figuring out substitutions for him. And if we're going to a friend's house, I'll make something that I know he can eat that's pretty hearty. So if we go there and there's nothing he can eat, he can always eat what I make. So that's kind of how I deal with substitutions. I probably should be a better hostess and like, does anybody have any dietary restrictions? I don't even ask. And it's not because I mean to be rude or not hospitable. I just feel like I probably have something that everyone can eat. So, yeah, there you go. Speaking of the dairy, let's get the fruit buckle in the oven so it gets started because it needs to cook for about 50 minutes. So we're just going to start. Oh, I'm going to turn up my overhead camera too. Hold on. Hold on, friends. Whoa. All right. That is not going to work. I should have prepared that before getting live, but this is what happens. So I've got my mixer and I'm just going to cream my butter, 2 sticks with a cup of sugar. This is a cake. I've already made it 4 times this year. I make it about 6 times a year. It's so good. Everybody loves it. It's easy. You just cream butter and sugar. Then I'm going to have a cup and a half of flour, half a teaspoon of baking powder, a half a teaspoon of salt, and a half a teaspoon of cinnamon. I just need to talk about cinnamon for a second. This cinnamon from Here's the Deal Spice Company is so amazing. I am not paid to tell you this. It is just amazing. They are a Minnesota company and they get the spices, and my chef friend, Thomas, he roasts them. And the way that this smells and makes your cake, it is so heavenly. So the recipe calls for a half a teaspoon. I probably used a little bit more than that, but honestly, if you're going to buy cinnamon, and cinnamon is really the only spice that's carrying your dish forward, try to get a good cinnamon because it really does make a total difference. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get our batter ready, but I'm going to show you how we're going to serve this. So for a lot of these fruit buckles, you just press fruit into the batter, which is what I'm going to do here. So I want it to be super dramatic. I want the dough to kind of come up and around these beautiful halves of plum. So I'm going to go ahead and take the pits out of these plums and I'm going to lay them in the dough batter before we cook it. Now, a buckle has a very thick batter. It's almost like a cookie dough. It isn't something that you're going to pour into your pan. You're going to like plop it in there and then you're going to have to smooth it out. All right. Get this off. And this dough is going to just cook up and around these plums. It's going to be very delicious. And they're going to release their juice and it's going to be pretty dramatic. It also, if I do this right, I should have like a plum in everyone's piece of cake or a half if I serve smaller pieces. Come on, plum, get out of there. You can make this same cake with strawberries. You can make it with peaches. You can make it with cherries, blueberries, raspberries. I've done it a million different ways. Figs would also be super dramatic and pretty. Figs are kind of something that we don't cook with in Minnesota very often. But when we do, oh, they're so lovely. All right. So I'm thinking I'm going to get 8 of these in here. We'll see. And I'm just getting these pits out. Dinner parties are funny. Like a lot of people are starting to do cookbook clubs, which I'm real excited. If you are not a subscriber to my Substack, I would invite you to join. Actually, you're probably subscribers if you're watching here. So I have a free Substack. It comes out every Wednesday and it's got recipes. And then on Sundays, I do more recipes, more photos of my family, different things I'm involved in. I recap any photo or any videos I've done that week, whether they're on YouTube or whether they're things I did on Jason's show. We are getting ready to launch the True North Cabin Cookbook, Volume 2. That is very exciting. And that is happening. The book is going to start shipping on September 2nd. So I'm very excited about that. And there's probably going to be some copies at the fair, which is exciting. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and put my flour mixture in here with my butter. Okay. Give it a little spin. Am I the only one where flour is just always getting everywhere when you bake. I'm like the worst baker. I'm always messy. Okay, so when I show you this dough, it's coming together, but it's like cookie dough where it's thin. I'm going to go ahead and scrape down my bowl here and just make sure I get everything incorporated. And then we're going to go ahead and get our cake in the oven. This takes a long time to bake. It takes about an hour. All right, so also it's very hard to do things backwards. I'm just going to go ahead and plop this in there. You can see it looks like cookie dough versus like cake batter. Sometimes doing like YouTube videos of these things is super helpful because you can really see what things are supposed to look like. Okay, moving my plums over. Just going to get this all in there. Get the divot in the bottom of the bowl, right? Okay. Right. So super thick batter. Not very cake-like, right? But this is going to work just great. Oh my gosh, you guys. Shoot, I just realized I forgot the eggs. No wonder I'm like, wait, this is feeling a little battery, more battery than normal. Oh my gosh, this is what happens. Okay, so we're just going to plop this back in and give it another go when we add the eggs. You don't add them till the end anyway, so it's fine. But yeah, I was wondering, I was like, okay, I know this batter is thick, but it also is feeling a little too thick. So back in the blender we go, honest to goodness. And we're going to go ahead and finish up our cake. Come on, friends. All right, there we go. Part of what I'm doing for this dinner party is the green salad that I'm making. I made a bunch of eggs in the Instant Pot. This is another trick from my radio friend, Stephanie, my partner. She likes to serve eggs, not necessarily double, just like half eggs on platters for parties and happy hours to give people a little protein, which is smart. Okay, eggs are in. That all mixed together. Oh yeah, we're cooking with gas now. So I'm taking kind of a similar strategy with the eggs. I made a bunch of eggs in an Instant Pot, and I'm going to lay them around the edge of the dressed salad. So if someone wants them, they are there for them. Okay, let's try this again, shall we? Oh yeah, that looks much better. Okay, so you can see, still thick, but not as thick with the egg in there. Oh my goodness, can you imagine? All right, so fruit buckle going in, and I'm going to push the plums down, and then we will move on to our next recipe. My friends are coming at 6. It's 1:30 now, 2:00, so I'll be getting everything prepped right up until they come. It's a beautiful time in my garden outside right now. So I will grab some greenery, see what flowers I have. I've got hydrangeas, so I'll probably make a big hydrangea arrangement that'll sit on the main counter when people come and making their drinks. That'll be like a centerpiece, as it were. And then on the table itself, I'll have a smaller arrangement that will be low. That could even just be like greenery in a low bowl, just to give the table a little something. Okay, so you can see here the cake is still thick, but now it has eggs and is not as thick as it was. And I'm just kind of spreading it out a little bit. All right. And I'm going to push the plums in. and push them down. Like I said, the cake will come up and around them. So I'm going to do, hopefully I can get 8 in here. I don't know, maybe it'll only be 6 or 9. We'll see. There we go. This is going to look really pretty. It's going to be a little off, but no worries. Okay. All right. So you see how we have the plums in there? And when it bakes, it's going to bake up and over. I'm going to do one other thing. I've got a little vanilla sugar that I'm just going to sprinkle on the top. I probably wouldn't do this at the lake, but since I'm having a party and I want it to be a little pretty, I'll just sprinkle a little bit of vanilla sugar on the top. Ugh. Come on, friends. This vanilla sugar has a vanilla bean in it with sugar, and just going to sprinkle a little bit on the top to give it a nice, crusty, sugary topping. Okay. All right. So this is going to go in the oven for 50 minutes. And I'm going to wash my hands. We're going to move on to the next recipe. So let's put this in the oven. Whoops, of course. I need to move my oven wraps because I was broiling the red pepper, so they're not in the right position. I'm going to set my kitchen timer at 30 minutes. The cake's going to cook for about 50 minutes, but I like to spin my pan about halfway because my oven has a hot spot. Many do. All right. Moving on, I want to show you something kind of fun. I'm going to make a garlic scape pesto in my food processor. The food processor I got when I got married, my trusty Cuisinart. I love it so much. It's like the number one tool I don't think I could live without. All right, so look at these cuties. You know what these are? These are garlic scapes. So when you grow garlic, this is like the top that comes out. And they have little flowers on them too. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in my food processor because I'm going to blend them up and make a pesto out of it. And this pesto is going to taste very much like a light garlic flavor. And I'm going to use these little flowers as decorations. They're going to decorate my platter with the roasted potatoes because this pesto is going to be drizzled over the roasted potatoes with the feta schmear on the bottom. So I'm going to set those aside for decoration and just kind of chop these up a little bit. Put them in my food processor. I'm also going to add some basil and some walnuts. Now you can use pine nuts. I'm cheap. Pine nuts are expensive. So I kind of end up using almonds. I'll use walnuts. I really use whatever nuts I have on hand and that aren't super expensive. I'm going to start with a little olive oil. Just started, and then I'm going to add some more. I'm going to add some pepper, a little bit of salt, and some basil. I have some basil growing at the garden at home, or up north, but I'm at home, so had to buy some. I'm going to go ahead and just, if I'm using the food processor, I'm going to use this whole thing. Okay. Get a few more going. I'm trying to cut them off at the node where they can continue to grow once I'm done here. You pinch them off where you see like a tree. Okay. That'll get us going. And I've got some for garnish. I'm going to add a garlic clove. And my clove of garlic is a little tired. But because I've got the green garlic from the scapes, I'm going to have a nice garlicky flavor. Just going to go ahead and put that in there. And then I'm going to zhuzh. And this is just going to be a drizzle. And then I'll take whatever I have left over and either freeze it for another recipe. Maybe I'll add it to mayo, make an aioli. Maybe I'll make a salad dressing later. I'll figure out how I want to use it. Gosh, peeling garlic sometimes is such a pain. Okay, so a little garlic clove. And then I've got some oil in there. Just going to give it a little. Okay. You can see it's pretty chunky. I'm going to add a little bit of cheese. And then I'm going to add a little bit more olive oil. And I'm just going to keep going until I get a consistency that I like. This recipe is on stephaniesdish.com too. It's about a 1/4 cup of cheese and about a 1/2 cup of olive oil overall. I'm just going to add a little here, and then I'm going to go from the top while I'm blending. I love pesto. You can make pesto with so many things, and it's pesto season, right? So, getting it emulsified, mixed in. Gonna give it a little spin here around the top. This is such a pretty color too. So it's gonna look really nice with the roasted potatoes and the yogurt. It's real pesto-y right now, and I want it a little more drizzly just for my uses today. So I'm gonna add a little bit more olive oil. So good. I think this will be good. You can see the consistency. It's chunky, but if I add a little more olive oil before serving, I can get it to drizzle. And the consistency is really nice to put on fish, to put on pesto, to mix in with yogurt and make a dip. Like, there's so many things I can do with this as a base. I'm going to go ahead and show you. Can you see there? It's really lovely. Okay, so we have our garlic pesto. Just going to set that aside. And get that ready for a little bit later. Yum. Plus, that garlic smell is delightful. And from here, we're going to go ahead and make, I'm going to save this garlic clove because I'm going to use it. I'm going to make my little veggie situation. Move this side of the way. Okay, so we are going to cut some veg and lay it in concentric circles. Now, I only have yellow veg and one green veg. So what I'm going to do is do yellow along the outside, and then I'll finish with a little ring of green. And I'm going to go ahead. Sometimes when you're making a gratin, you will add flavored breadcrumbs or cheesy things in between the layers. I'm just going to go ahead and put it on the top. This is really going to be super simple. So I'm just going to cut circles and lay them in the pan. And then I'm going to bake them at 400 degrees with the topping on it, just as yet one more veggie dish for the dinner party. So in last week's Substack, I talked about cookbook clubs. I had a cookbook club for many years with friends. And finally, we just kind of aged out of it when our kids got to be like teenage years. But honestly, we had so much fun. We would we wouldn't pick from a book necessarily. So we called ours a gourmet club. But the hostess would pick the main dish, and then she would assign you either an appetizer, a salad, a soup, whatever we were having. I liked it because it forced me to make a lot of dishes that I wasn't familiar with because we had to make whatever the hostess said. But what I like about cookbook clubs is you really get a perspective on the book and you get to cook multiple dishes from the book and also see if people liked the book. One thing about my book that I do know is people like it because it's easy to cook from. It's not super complicated. The recipes don't take a long time. And I try to keep things with minimal ingredients. And the ingredients that I do use are all things you would be able to find in your kitchen pretty easily or at your neighborhood grocery store. The first book that I did is kind of a May through September. It's modeled by month. And I like that because, like, right now we're getting into squash season and zucchini season. And there's a lot of zucchini recipes in that first book because I'm a gardener and I ended up with a lot of zucchini. The second book takes you from October through April. So there's not as much garden things, but there's a lot of soups and stews and braises. So I'm taking the bigger circles and laying them around the outside here. And then I'm going to take the smaller circles and the zucchini and kind of make something in the middle. This type of a dish I love with like rosemary or thyme as the main flavor. It's so delicious. Anything like gardeny and fresh. I'm going to sprinkle breadcrumbs with a little cheese on the top just to give it like a crunchy, little crispy coating. It's going to need a lot of olive oil. Need a lot of squash here, so I'm going to be able to get a whole nother layer. And just keep kind of going around in circles and pushing back up to the layer behind you. This is going to be really pretty. Again, this was a last minute add-on when I was at the gym. Someone had a pile of yellow squash and zucchini, and I find it hard to walk past it and not do something with it. So here we are. Okay, I have so much. I'm just going to keep laying it in. And then I'm going to make the zucchini the star of the show in the center. Okay. Filling in sort of all the little cracks. Making it pretty. Just by tucking everything in. Okay. Now I've got the zucchini, so let's see what I can do with it here. I'm going to strategically just insert these rounds. Then I'm going to put olive oil, my seasonings, my cheese, and my breadcrumbs. And it'll be all ready to bake for when my guests arrive. So I'm just going along and I'm making a green layer. It's going to be cute. If you're type A, you're going to love this kind of dessert because you can just really get lost in it. I'm not type A. I'm type ABC. All right. Not that one. That one looks real cute. Tuck a few in the middle, like a flower. Okay. I'm going to crush up some of the And there we go. Right, so I've got a few extra here. I'll just set these to the side. I'm going to go ahead and get some breadcrumbs. I probably have some in the freezer. And if you know me and you cook with me, you know I always have things in the freezer. Okay, this is just funny. This is soup meat. I thought it was breadcrumbs, but it's soup meat. Hold on. Gonna find my breadcrumbs. I goodness. I know we're in here. Oh wait, another find. Pine nuts. I couldn't use those in my pesto, right? Seriously, people. All right, I found them. Okay, breadcrumbs. I'm going to go ahead and just smash them up with a rolling pin and sprinkle some on here. Is this a good time to tell you that I'm looking for an assistant? Seriously, I am looking for someone that can help me about 20 hours a week with preparing food for shoots, helping prepare recipes on my website, typing them in, helping get our strategy for what recipes we're going to do. I'm just feeling like I'm getting ready to get a little assistance. Okay, these are still a little chunky. If I can't get them to crunch up by doing this because they're a little frozen, I'm going to go back to my food process. Let's see. Oh, I got enough at the bottom here that I think I can use. Okay. So I'm going to put them in a bowl. Oh, look what I found, my mini chopper. If anyone is interested in working with me, like I said, I'm looking for about 20 hours a week. You have to be a little tech savvy. Video editing's a plus. I have all the tools that you can use, whether it's, Canva or iMovie or Splice. I've got them all, whatever you're into using. I'm going to go ahead and get this started. But we would have fun together. You could be in the order clothing shoots. Things are falling all over. And you'd work autonomously. You'd have to come into my home sometimes because that's where I do most of my work. Oh my gosh, why is this not working now? What the heck? Seriously, what the heck? This corroded piece of crap. Yeah, I don't know why it's not working. Should be working. Try the other. Yeah, nope. All right, well, honest to goodness, what am I going to do now? See, this is exactly what happens when you're cooking with me. You have to think of things on the fly. And I think we're going to go back to just pounding things out. Just going like this. All right. So we're going in with our breadcrumbs. Try to get the big hunks out that I can't seem to blend up. Okay. Here we go. We're going to put our olive oil, a little bit of cheese in there. It's going to look real pretty, even though it looks like a disaster on here. You know, you got to do what you got to do. Okay, a little bit of cheese. And we're going to finish it off with a little seasoning. I like thyme. Then I have some herb salts that I have made. At the end of the season, when I harvest my final herbs, I blend them up with salt. So you can see in there are the herbs and the salt. This happens to be a rosemary salt. It's going to be tasty. And then I'm going to sprinkle some olive oil. I need a different bottle because I already used one. And just make sure I get it nice and around all our veg. Okay. And then last but not least, I'm going to microplane that little clove of garlic that I had. Here it is. And here's the microplane. Just to get a little hint of garlicky goodness on there. All right. Give that a little sprinkle. Sprinkle. All right. And this is going to be a lovely dish. When I serve it, I'll probably grab a little bit of thyme from the garden that I happen to have outside just to lay it on there because that'll look really nice. Okay, just a little. And what's going to happen is these vegetables are going to release their oil and their water. And so you'll get kind of a bubbly situation. Okay. Gonna finish off with just a tiny bit more olive oil. And then I'll set this aside until it's ready to go in the oven. And that will be after my cake, which is still in the oven. Okay. Ooh, I got a little more pile of crumbs here. Let's just finish those off, shall we? Okay. You're going to have to stay tuned for my Instagram because I'll put pictures of everything as it comes out. And if there's any good bottles of wine too, whenever I entertain or friends come over and we like the wine, I'll usually share that too. Because I think buying wine is hard. My friend that owns Sip Better Wines, Leslie Miller, she does a great job. I have a wine subscription from her. And I really like wine and know a little bit about it, but one of my friends, that's a really hard thing. Okay, so here we go. Our vegetable gratin. It's going to be delightful. I'm going to put my breadcrumbs back in the freezer. When I get time, I should just blend them up so I don't have to do this whole scene again, right? And I've got my cheese that's going to go back in the freezer. The last thing we were going to do is make salad dressing, and I will do that with you. So I have a very basic vinaigrette. I'm just going to grab this sheet here so I can see. Generally, when you're making salad dressing, it's 1/3 acid to 2/3 oil. And then you have seasonings. So I'm going to make a very simple vinaigrette. I have a lot of flavors going on, right? I've got the miso salmon. I've got the garlic and the vegetables. I've got the garlic skate pesto with the potatoes. I've got the dilly potato salad. So I want my salad to be kind of neutral and almost like a little palate cleanser. So I'm just going to juice my lemon. This lemon is really large. Let's just do it like this. I usually make the dressing and then just let it sit. Sometimes if I'm having a party, and I probably will do this a little later, I'll put the salad dressing in the bottom of the bowl and build the greens on top. So it's not dressed, so it doesn't get soggy. Or I'll like lay the dressing around the bowl and then put the greens in the middle. And then right before people come, I'll toss it. So I'm adding 2/3 oil to my 1/3 of vinegar. I got a little heavy handed with the oil there, so I'm going to do a little more lemon. I'm also going to zest it. Give us kind of a nice, bright, lemony salad. Be real easy. I'm tossing it with just salad greens, mixed greens. If I had an avocado, I'd put it in. If I'm feeling fancy, I maybe will cut up some chives or some scallions. Gonna make sure I get some salt in there and juice a little more. You can see how when you look at the glass, you can kind of see the ratios there. So I need just a little more juice. A little more than that. I'm going to add a little salt and a little pepper. It's really important for dressings to have salt and pepper. They're carrying a lot of flavor on these greens, right? Okay. You can see I've got the ratio just about right there. Now, another thing that's helpful about salad dressing is to have an emulsifier. What that does is some kind of creaminess that brings it all together. You don't have to have it, and sometimes I don't. In this instance, I'm probably going to use a little bit of mustard. I do not want a mustardy flavor. I'm just looking for the emulsification, so I'm just going to use a little bit, like a teaspoon. Okay. Now you can shake this in a mason jar, or you can just whisk it with a fork. This is our very basic salad dressing. See that? Okay. I'm going to make one more vinaigrette before we log off here. And the final vinaigrette I'm going to make is going to be for the bean and the rosemary salad. I'm going to go in with the 2/3 of oil. Same kind of strategy here. And then 1/3 of the vinaigrette. And in this case, I'm going to use balsamic vinegar. My husband can't have this, but he's not home, and my friends can. I like it. We want a good amount because this is really, besides the roasted red peppers and the beans and the herbs that I add, this is really the primary base of the flavoring. I'm just going to squeeze out any of these extra little lemon bits just so I'm not wasting anything. And I'm going to add a little salt and pepper. And I'm not going to emulsify this one because I'm just going to be using it to dress the beans and the roasted peppers. There is a lot of flavor too. I got a seed in there in the roasted pepper. So that is really the primary flavor. Putting a little salt here. That's the primary flavor that I want. Carry in our bean salad. Okay. If I dress the salad and it feels like I don't have enough vinaigrette, I can just quickly whip up a little bit more. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the beans in a bowl and I'm going to add the red pepper and the vinaigrette. And then I'm going to do this right before my guests come. And then I'm going to do it on a platter that I'm going to decorate with fresh basil. So watch for that on the grams, but that's how we're going to do our bean salad with our roasted peppers. Make sure you taste your salad dressings too. I will do this right before serving. I'm going to add just a tiny more olive oil to this one. Love Your Olive, or Love That Olive, is a store in Maple Grove that has really nice olive oils. And they've got nice balsamic vinegars too. There's a peach white balsamic that's delightful. Okay, so I'm going to clean up. I'm going to get my cake out. I'll show you. It's cooked in there for 30 minutes. I got to spin it around, but I just want to show you kind of how it's coming. It's going to be real beautiful. So we'll put that in for another 30 minutes, spinning it around. Actually, it's 30 plus 20 because it's 50 minutes total. All right, so I'm going to wait till my cake gets done. I've got my salmon ready to go, ready to broil. I've got my vegetables that I'll cook this afternoon and they can stay at room temperature. I've got my red pepper bean salad that also, once I get everything put together, can sit at room temperature. I've got the kind of last minute add-on of the dilly potato salad. That'll be cold, that I'll serve last. And I'm in good shape. So I'm going to sign off on this. I will put the recipes in the Substack post so that you can find these recipes if you want to make them. And yeah, it was a little haphazard today, kind of as it is. I did TV this morning and then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this. I'm not going to not do it because I'm not prepared, because this is how I cook in my kitchen. And I'm real and you're real, and entertaining is the biggest thing, right? Just to make sure that we have fun with our friends. So thank you for watching. If you think watching is fun, and I hope you do, you can watch my TV show Taste Buds with Stephanie, where we literally do this exact same thing. It's a little more organized. I have a crew of 2 people. Yep. But that's super fun. And you can watch that on Saturday mornings on Fox 9 if you're local. And if you're national, you can watch it on YouTube. And it is coming to, I believe, 82 markets. Our first national episode will air September 12th. So you can find that and find all these recipes and me at stephaniesdish.com. Thanks for watching.